Hello, I would like to inform you that you're about to listen to a lot of bullshit comments. So you might not agree with them, but that's the way of the world. Everyone has different opinions to you, so please don't cancel any of us. Please, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Roll the weirds, shit.
Hello, everybody. This is the Hotshot podcast, our weekly podcast talking about cosplay, Comic Con, and everything else. I'm your host, Eddie. And this week we're not even unscripted. This is not even a topic. It's something really different for me. So this is like really unscripted, like blank page type of thing. Maybe should I just call it improv? I don't know. But basically, I've had such a whirlwind of a week and a half, and I'll be honest, I've not had a chance to really like organize things. I think the last episode was talking about my photography process because I wasn't really in a good mood about it. Like I said, I've had a lot going on in my mind, and something I probably will talk about more in the podcast section if I'm honest. But for the now, I want to talk about very positive things that's happened to me in the last 4 to 6 weeks, and then talk about also like the future. So this might be a very short podcast, maybe a long podcast. I don't know. We'll see. But I just want to say, for those who really enjoy listen to my podcast, listen to this, the topics that I bring up, think about. I do apologize that if that's what you came here for, I'm sorry this isn't one for you. If you're wanting to skip this podcast, go for it. I'm happy for you to skip this podcast. I really appreciate you like sticking around and hanging around and joining me on this whirlwind adventure. But if you just enjoy being in my own company and just listening to me wittering on about something, I appreciate you, joining me on this adventure. Um, if you hear some like tippy tappy stuff, wipey type of stuff, I'm basically editing photos while I'm chatting because I feel like I'm one of these people who think they can multitask. That may not be true, but I'm going to give it a go. So let's talk about the last, like, what we call it. Yes. So let's say beginning of the year. Beginning of the year. Um, let's just say I'm in I can't remember if I've said this in the end of the podcast. I'm in a really good place at the moment, and it's very rare for me to actually think that I've feel like I have done things. Sorry, this sounds like I've done a crime or something like that. I haven't. Let me quantify a bit more. But I'm in a place where, for once in my life, I am so happy about myself. I'm so happy who I am, what I am, and things like that. So I just want to put that out there whilst I got a chance. Um, I've honestly I've been in such a really good mood about things. There's certain changes in my life that I'm going to talk about, which I keep forgetting to talk about, and I feel like now's the time to talk about it. And I think I'm in the safe space to talk about it. I feel like I'm good. Um, but basically, I feel that I've so I think I've been saying this a lot, and I have not given a real reasons for it. But I've said recently I want to step away more from Comic Con photography and concentrate on other things. Which I'm not saying I'm quitting photography. I'm not quitting cosplay or anything like that. I just I think I found my niche. I found what makes me happy with photography, and it's not in a sense per se Comic Con photography anymore. I still love doing Comic Con photography, but I would rather do that type of photography in a studio or in a very controlled environment type of thing. So yeah, I absolutely yeah love it. So what came to this conclusion? It was something it came up in my in a previous podcast with Kevin Pack, and basically what I was saying, he was asking me, where do you think I've done my best work? And I think if you asked me that 5 years ago, I was at Comic Con, at Comic Con, at Comic Con. Because that's all I knew. That's all I took photos of. But the more I've been trying to do more studio work, and I've been doing studio work now again for probably about 5 years, location shoots as well. I feel that the way I treat a location shoot and a studio shoot is a lot more different to how I'm do a Comic Con. And again, I'll keep saying this: what I do at Comic Con, I'm happy doing. It's my choice that I do it this way. I'm not blaming anyone, but I do know sometimes I do go like I go like the clappers. I start at 10 a.m. and I take photos all day. Have an hour lunch, and I do have a fucking hour lunch. Um, I wish people believe me when I say I do have an hour lunch, but it is what it is. And it's interesting that a lot of people think I'm stressed during those times. I'm not stressed. I genuinely love doing Comic Con photography. I love the way that I do. I have a schedule. I know who I'm shooting with. I have what was it? I was going to say script. It's not script. A post sheet, and I go through each, of the poses I do for each one, and yeah, it's absolutely. I get very excited when I get to meet people, get very inventive, creative. If you heard the podcast about how I take my photography workflow, I you know I really enjoy trying to challenge myself to think of like places where we could take photos. It honestly does bring me joy. But if you're saying then, well, then why, Ed? Why you want to do less of it? It's because I've, in a sense, I've done it all now, and I'm not saying I've done it all as in, I've hit my peak. No, far from it. But I'm not doing this full time. Not wanting to go full time photography or anything like that. I know there are more to go, more levels to go when it comes to photography, but those are the levels I don't have time for, nor the energy, nor do I want to really. I'm trying to get a photo done as much in camera, on set. I don't want to go into too much photo manipulation. Again, that's not my thing. That's not who I am. And, I find studio work more gives me the excitement I want, the energy that I now currently crave. Again, these are like 5 year cycles I feel like people go through. At one point, maybe as a cosplayer, you go through a warbler stage and everything had to be made out of warbler. Then you find out you've got something else you can do things with foam, like with those, foam mats that you find in gyms, things like that. I like to think that things go in cycles. And again, when I first started out photography, I had a camera. Great, I used, whatever lens it came with. Took advice, get a 50mm lens, and I used the 50mm lens as much as I could, as often as I could. I really pushed um, the way I use the 50mm lens. Again, I know I'm talking about technical stuff, which some people might go, "What the hell is he talking about?" Basically, it's a set lens length, which it's in the middle between a 35 and 85, and they're meant to be like the best known portrait lens length. The 50 is a good middle ground for it, and now I've upgraded my kit. I've got new lenses, different lenses, and things like that. So yeah, it's more about what's the next evolution of my photography, and I feel like the next evolution is actually stepping away from Comic Con photography such, and then doing more locations and studio. And you might be hearing this coming out in some of my previous podcasts why I'm pushing this agenda quite a lot. And I don't make it a secret that how much I'm trying to get other people to do studio work. And I'm not trying to say studio work with me. I'm just saying studio work because I think more people would benefit if they tried doing studio work more. So I just want to say that that's the next 12 months. So January is gone, in the middle of February at the moment. I'm trying to organise different shoots with different cosplayers and also models that I'm trying to get in contact with for my other brand. Some of these models are in different countries, not in just the UK, so it's very hard to try to pinpoint. a what's the word? A way to get a date to work with each other. But things could happen. I, I believe that where there's a will, there's a way. I'm trying to be very positive about things, and I'm really looking forward to like trying to work with, you know, with people that I never thought I would have to work with. I think anyone that knows me, I'm very much a people person. I love trying to work out. No, not work out. That's the wrong way of saying it. I love talking to people in a way that, in a sense, broadens my horizon, broadens my knowledge, and you know, I I think we are a better. What's the word I'm trying to think of? We are so much better when we try to find out other people's lives, how people live, and how people, decide to make these decisions about themselves. And if you don't want to learn, that's fine, not a problem. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're curious about something, go ask questions. There's nothing wrong about asking questions. I always believe that 100%. Um, but yeah, I can't believe where where my life has gone and been and everything else. I never thought I'd be working with models that I look at their work in a way that I can't. I would love how they, pose in these photos. I love how they, in a sense, work with the camera and it just looks different. It just, yeah, and I'm being more positive about myself. I'm trying to really say, look, give it a go. And if they say no, it doesn't mean that they rejected me. It's that I'm not their type of photographer, or I haven't worked hard enough to like make myself known to them, or I need to, in a sense, work harder about expanding my portfolio so it doesn't look one-sided type of things and things like that. Um, I try to make myself a bit of a variety type of photographer because I do believe that, having a wide portfolio is a good portfolio. You want to show that you can have a diverse catalog of models that you shoot with. Because I think, again, if you show that type of, what's the word? I think it's the word I'm thinking of. But anyway, the variety of it, that's what I'm going to have to go with. I can't think of the word. To me, it's late at night at the moment. And yeah, I keep running out of time to do these podcasts and more so tonight. Yeah, anyway, what was I saying? Anyway, talking about models and all that. And sometimes I get some successes and sometimes I'm not, which is fine. The great proverb, if you don't try, you don't get. So I'm now trying to live by those words. And so far, I get some successes, and I'm focused on successes. You know, you've got to really stay positive about these things and not let the negativity kick in and think that, oh, they said no because of this. Like you don't know if it's you. You really don't know unless they tell you it. You can believe whatever you want, but at the same token, you can't if they don't tell you the reasons why of no, then you know, in fact, you can't really say much. But if you don't, like I said, I'm trying my best to really get into more location photography. And again, this is not meant to be an advert about, oh, if you want to work with me or not, that's great. Things like that. Just more personal stuff about me. I'm trying to go see the theatre a bit more or go out a bit more. I went recently to see a cabaret act, and it's really weird that I look back at my life thinking, oh, I'm a really adventurous guy. I go out a lot, and actually, I don't. And it's really sad that I used to think I was fooling myself, thinking, oh yeah, I go out a lot. I went, no, I don't actually. So recently, I've been thinking, really put myself out there to really, what's the word? Yeah, put myself out there and trying to really, oh, I don't know, just get it out there a bit more. I'm not going crazy. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm doing, getting drunk or not. things like that. But at the same token, I do need to give myself a break every so often. I need to enjoy life. You know, I as much as I put so much effort into photography, I have to remind myself this is still a hobby. It's not my full-time job. It's nothing that I think I'm sure I said this in our previous podcast. I don't, I don't ever want to become a real full-time photographer. It's not my thing. I think just because of that, I think it's because, being real here, I've seen my parents run a takeaway for, half my life. I would have said, yeah, about half my life, actually. I see how hard they work and how much it takes to run a business, being self-employed, and that's not the life I want. That's not me. I really don't want that type of lifestyle. Um, but I see my parents who worked so hard to give me the education and, in a sense, a different lifestyle. And I want to give them that promise that I would actually look after myself. I would actually make something of myself. And lately, I don't think I've been doing that. So now I'm trying to you know go out a bit more and explore London a little bit more. Explore you know other things that I've always said, oh, I'll do that eventually. It's like, do you know what? Just do it. So I'm going to put it on this podcast as someone to remind me, and I'm sure someone will remind me in 6 months' time when I've chickened out and doing it. But I will say to myself, say to you guys right now that either I join either an improv group or a comedy club and just give it a go. If I fail, I fail. There's no harm and no shame in actually failing. It's a good way to learn. I feel that I like to think I'm funny. And those who don't think I'm funny, well, that's you're right. I'm not funny. Everyone's opinion matters, you know. But yeah, I, I just enjoy. I just like putting a smile on people's face. I enjoy seeing, smiles on their face. And I'm sure you've heard stories about me that I've said really rude, crass stuff, thinking it was funny. And again, I'm not going to deny that. I've said some horrible things, thinking it was funny, and I've had to apologise for things that I've said, which I've gone, "You're right. I said something out of turn, think it was funny, and you know, I want to be a better person. But I still want to be a funny guy. And I want to learn to be funny, even funnier in my head. So I would like to learn to actually be funny, and to do that, I feel like joining an improv group or class, should I say, or comedy club class, which I've seen, and if you know, I'd like to try before realistic target. Let's say a realistic target. Oh, I don't know. I'll say before the summer's over. Seems like a real big cop out. I don't know. Whoever is listening to this podcast, if you got this far and not got bored, tell me what's a good deadline a realistic deadline um, to join a improv group or something like that. Anyway, so that's part of the future I'm looking for myself. What else am I looking forward to about my life or some previous thing? I mean, I don't know. I am actually looking forward to more comic cons that I'm not actually being a photographer for. Um, I, you know, I think I just did say the story about why when I went to Birmingham in November, no, December last year, that I actually enjoyed myself not taking photos for a change. It's really weird to say that as someone who prides himself as a photographer. He always says that I'm not a professional photographer. Never say I'm a professional photographer who then charges when they know they shouldn't charge. Not that I'm picking on anyone when I say that. Um, yeah, I just find it. What's the word? What's the word? What word am I looking for? But no, I found it like. liberating for not taking photos and not feel forced to take photos. Don't get me wrong, I will turn up with these events with a camera and all that, and again, I'll happy to take a photo. But lately, I've been so what's the word? What did I use? What word did I just use? Liberated. That's the word. I felt really liberated from not taking photos. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I feel hostage by taking photos, but I think it's I don't know. I think if you ask a cosplayer to stop cosplaying and just go to con without, they just feel naked. They don't feel it. I think if you ask a photographer not to take a photo, it is difficult, but I think it's easier for us. I don't know. I could be wrong. I really could be wrong about this, but yeah, but I don't know if people no, do you know what I'm going to be positive about? I know people like shooting with me and wanting to see where I am and get photos from me. I know I bring a certain brand, certain, what's the word? I was going to say that, oh God, do you know what? I was going to be really cocky. I was going to je ne sais quoi. It's like, God, how egotistical could I sound? Um, but yeah, no, but I like when um, people, think they get, they want to get the Eddie experience from me, which is great. I always want to give the exact same experience from one cosplayer to another. But sometimes it can be exhausting for me. It can be, um, it is exhausting and takes a lot out of me. And it's not like I'm not like a battery where I'm like run dry and have to put a new set in. But sometimes it does take a bit of time to, so to say, recharge those batteries. And I think I need to give myself a better, what's the word? I think I need to find time to look after myself a little bit more and just give myself time to be more forgiving for myself. I think I'm learning that because sometimes I feel really guilty about not taking photos, and I feel really guilty that I'm not taking everyone's photos, and I feel really guilty when I do take the photo. I've got to edit the photos, things like that. You know, I'm trying to like edit photos and hand them back in an appropriate time. And I think a lot of cosplayers do know now that photographers are not doing this full time. They're not professionals and things like that. So people are doing take those, but I've always said on the flip side, us photographers can't take the piss about holding photos in a sense hostage from people. And I get it. We're doing this for free. We're not getting paid. So in a sense, there's no real obligation. But in a sense, you got paid through the model's time, through the cosplayer's time, and it's not fair that they don't get something in return for that. You know, it's unfair that maybe you're using that time to like use a new technique or just getting better experience with your photography, things like that, and not give something back. And yeah, I just feel if you don't give something back in an appropriate time, you know, I would question why you're a photographer, why you're there, type of thing. So yeah, I do want to do a podcast about AnimeCon UK. And I'm sure I said this previously in a previous podcast. I've really enjoyed myself, even though it was a Sunday and it was quiet. I really enjoyed myself. I There's a store owner who does TikTok called Jarless Bones. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing their name correctly. I'm not too sure. I'm never confident, but in any case, they did a great podcast review, not podcast, a TikTok review of the event. It's not perfect, but no event is perfect, and it's got room to improve. And again, something I will bring this up in my podcast. There was a bit of a hoo-ha about the photographers being asked to sign up. You'll get my view about that later, but I I think this is a really nice event. I think the only thing which is very obvious what I'm about to say, which won't surprise anyone, that for you to enjoy this event, you've got to love anime. And I know it says it on the tin, it's AnimeCon UK, but I wouldn't want to like say, "Oh, you should come to this event." if you don't like anime, if you don't like anime, it's not your thing, then yeah, obviously don't go. But if you're there to like maybe see other artists, other potential artwork, and artists and styles or different items to see, I think Anime Con could be a good alternative con for you to have a look at. I think the drum shed venue is cool, but again, I don't want to spoil too much about the review of it. There's certain things that when I speak to cosplayers about it, we'll bring that up in the podcast. Uh, the next event I might be going to after this, when this podcast goes out, is MegaCon Live Birmingham. Definitely going as a con goer. I'm about to buy tickets for it. I will probably only go on the Sunday. No, sorry, not Sunday, Saturday. God, Jesus, got Sunday in my mind. Um, yeah, so that's going to be a thing. Um, Need to just buy tickets and train fare, things like that. Um, what else and who else? Uh, and I think that's it until MCM Birmingham. But I would love to do. Oh no, I've got my birthday studio shoot with. I've already got my 4 models that I would like to work with. I've got one photographer. Oh, I need to get another photographer. I need to get in contact with someone else about that. Um, yeah, I. It's quite interesting. The people that I invited, they don't listen to this podcast, so I can say it's my birthday studio shoot thing. I don't. As much as I love people to, to wish me happy birthday. I also don't want people to make a huge fuss or feel obligated they need to get me things. So, I'm keeping it sh- quiet and stum about it being my birthday so they don't feel like they have to like buy me anything, things like that. Because these are people that don't really know me or, I won't, I'm not going to claim they're my friends, but I like to know, like to think that I've worked with them enough for them to, be at least a close acquaintance of some sort. If I needed a character witness, I think I like to think that one of these people would step up at least. That sounds like a really weird way of saying that, but you get what I'm saying. Um, what was I going to say next? But yeah, obviously MCM London, it's an event I hope to get a press pass for or a creator pass and really enjoy myself. Again, it's if of all the Comic Cons I do photography for, I think the Excel Center is such a great venue for me to actually get great photos from. I know the venue like the back of my hand, as they say. I enjoy being creative there. There are some times I get very creative and go, oh, this is a new spot. This is great. And I think the only thing I miss doing is that I wish I was able to, um, what was it? Um, be not so rude with my time. I wish I could actually shoot with different people that I see as I go. But again, it's that confidence thing of just going, "Hey, can I turn and take photos?" and not have this negative, what's the word? Negative narrative in my head where I think, "Oh God, they said no because X, Y, and Z." It's like you don't know that, Ed. You really don't know, and it could be some completely different. Maybe just maybe, Eddie, you're a complete stranger and they don't want to work with strangers. Like maybe something like that. It's not like, oh, you're not good enough, Ed, or they've heard stories about you. They're just being careful. It's like, I mean, not saying that could be true, but that's one of many possibilities. And if you can spend all day, all week, all month, all year thinking about all the possibilities why they said no, or I can put that energy into just going to the next person saying, "Hey, can I take a photo?" And I'd rather do that than just being um, miserable at a Comic Con. But anyway, going back to my schedule, I love doing my schedule. I love doing this. I love being prepared. I love being organized. I really think about how the photo will turn out. As much as I like to get a good, clear background, I can't all the time. But at the same time, I love trying to, what's the word? Um, you know, Again, trying to be inventive, trying to be uh, clever with the spaces I use. Just everything I do at MCM just brings me joy and happiness, things like that. But again, I want to go to these. I want to start with converting the contacts and the work I do with people, convert them into actual time with shooting on locations or a studio. I know this has gone a bit full circle about that, but yeah, that's the absolute truth. And then after that, I really don't have much in between. So yeah, I'd like to start thinking about other things soon. But I thought I'd give you a quick rundown. Um, I'm still going to do a podcast extra to do this after this because there's a few more things I want to talk about. But I feel like this needs to go on the paid wall. And should I do that tonight? I might still do that tonight. Right now it's 12 o'clock at night in where I am. Um, but I really appreciate if you would like to, swing over to the podcast extra to listen to the other bits I want to talk about. I hope you've enjoyed me talking. I don't usually talk to myself on my own. I really do feel like a bit of an idiot, a bit of a plonker, just sitting here in my flat talking to myself. But it's been nice and therapeutic, as they say. I get a few things off my chest. So yeah. Anyway, let's end the podcast. So if you enjoyed listening to me, if you want to listen to other podcasts, if you go to foodandcosplay.org/podcast, you will find briefly recorded podcasts with other guests, with other topics. If you go to foodandcosplay.org/links, you'll find my social media links that I, sent where you can find my work, such as Threads, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all there. I'm actually trying to use Tumblr a little bit more now. Don't ask why, I just felt like it. If you go to Food and Cosplay or generally, you'll find daily cosplay photos I've uploaded. I'm trying to get back into article writing now when I find time. It's not easy, but I'm trying my best. And then if you go to patreon.com/food and cosplay, this is where you'll find the podcast extra. So, um, thank you for joining me on the podcast. Oh, whilst I remember, I was going to have Tom on the podcast, but we ran out of time, so we'll get him on the podcast another time. But yeah, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and that's it, really. So, bye, guys.